So I'm here with Jennifer.
Hi.
How do you pronounce your last name?
Balding.
So Jennifer, tell me a little bit about your business and how you create value for your customers.
So my business is Jetstream Administration, and what we focus on is the entrepreneur, owner-managed business, solving the bookkeeping responsibilities and making sure that accounting happens in real time so they can make decisions today for tomorrow and next year.
Okay. And what is a target industry that you work with, or a target type of client that you work with?
Well, most people like to pick a niche or a niche, depending on which country
Yes.
you're coming from.
Yes.
There's all the kinds of disparity on
Yes.
that. And we've really focused on that entrepreneur and that owner-managed business that's running it themselves. So it could be across a number of different industries. Primarily, we do work a lot with marketers and consultants, creative people that are maybe creating a website or some other type of marketing material. Yeah.
And what piece of insight have you learned here at QB Connect that will start making you think about something new or something different?
Excellent. You know what? This morning was my wow moment, actually, when I found out that I can pay faster, get paid faster, and keep my money longer. And that is a really powerful message to anybody running a business anywhere at any time.
No, that's right. It looks like QuickBooks is trying to innovate not just in software, but also in financial transactions,
Yes.
by somehow figuring out how to get people to pay with a credit card and get paid immediately. So that's going to be a huge impact for us as accountants, I believe, and also for our customers. What is the best business advice you ever received?
Ooh, now that's a great question. I've probably received a lot of good advice over the years. I think probably the best advice is to take the advice that's given to you. I think many of us will hear good pieces of advice or a good nugget of inspiration and think, yeah, I know that, but do that. If you hear a good piece of advice, make sure that you're practicing it and actually doing it in your day-to-day systems.
But then how would you, you're saying to take the advice, that means
Okay.
you're taking all the advice.
No, not all of it.
Yeah, but how would
Okay.
there's so much
Okay.
advice out there, there's so much wisdom out there.
Okay.
How do you prioritize? How do you figure out what advice you could actually implement? Isn't there such a thing as too much advice?
Yes, that does happen, but the way to do it is, I like to use a term called task dread. So what task do you do or your customer does and there's that cringe factor. I don't want to do it, I'm going to procrastinate it. That is the advice section that you should take. So if you don't like issuing checks, then you should find a way and take advice as to how to improve that piece of system, right? Whether it's paying electronically or using a Pluto or some other type of app system that's going to solve that problem. When you dread a task, you're not going to do it, you're going to delay it. So when you hear advice that's going to solve that dread for you, that's the advice that you should take and implement right away.
That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Rosanna Giannini. I'm a QuickBooks Pro advisor. I love Intuit with all my heart, and
Okay.
I was on stage today with Brad.
The remarkable people sitting in this room that make up this community, small business owners, accountants, developers, partners, the QuickBooks Connect pack. Rosanna Giannini attended QuickBooks Connect and noticed there were no Spanish-speaking sessions. Rosanna took it upon herself to get certified as a pro advisor. She came back the next year. She led a breakout session with 40 other Spanish-speaking accountants. They all got trained on QuickBooks, and together, that small pack of course. Ladies and gentlemen, a big standing ovation for Rosanna.
QuickBooks changed my life.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. Love you. Only here. Only in the authentic QuickBooks Connect.
Okay, so there's some enthusiasm going on. What's the backstory behind you jumping on stage with
Okay.
Brad Smith?
Well, Intuit has changed my life, but I want to tell you a little story about what happened last night.
Okay.
So I am the leader of the Spanish meetup.
Okay.
Right? So I went one day to QuickBooks headquarters and I said, I would like something in Spanish being taught at QuickBooks Connect. And
Yeah.
they said, no, nobody speaks Spanish over there. No, they do. Let me prove it to you. People are.
Yeah.
They're just hiding. They are there. Okay, well, do a meetup. Okay. So, and I've been leading the Spanish meetup for 4 years. Last night was my Spanish meetup at
Okay.
6 p.m. at the same time of the App Showdown.
Okay.
So I dressed up. I have a dress with diamonds and everything. I show up half an hour before my meetup and I said, I'm ready. And the lady said, Rosanna, we have to cancel you.
Oh,
I'm like, why? Well, someone scheduled you at the same time of the App Showdown, so we know you're very lively.
Right.
We know you for
Yeah.
4 years, and you
Yes.
really attract a lot of people when you speak.
Yeah.
And so we cannot deter some type of distraction
From
from
the-
the App
right.
Showdown
That
to
makes
you.
sense. That makes sense.
So we have to cancel you. Mwah! We have to cancel you. And I said, you're not canceling me. And 50 people start coming, Spanish-speaking
Yeah.
individuals. They
Yeah.
were all called. They were, is it going to happen? I said, I'm not letting them down. It's happening. Okay, Rosanna, but you cannot have a microphone. You cannot be loud. You have to really tone it down.
Right.
Okay, you got it.
Okay.
So I formed a circle. I said, everybody, give me a
Yeah,
hug.
yeah.
Everybody. And I had 50 people hugging, and we were whispering to one another.
Yeah.
What's your name? What do you do? How is it that you're a small business? How is it that you're an accountant? How is it that QuickBooks has changed your life? And we all share with each other. We end up
you
hugging.
connected, you
we
connected.
connected so much.
Right,
and
right.
Actually, we deter a lot of
the opposite of what they wanted ended up happening.
a lot of people, even they were English speakers, they were just looking like something's really happening in that little place.
So what's your business and what's your specialty and where are you based out of?
I live and I'm based in Monterey, California.
Monterey, okay.
See, and I do taxes.
Okay.
I have a law degree, so I do tax law, and I am a QuickBooks Pro advisor,
Okay.
and so my niche is small businesses.
Yeah.
I used to be the former director of the Small Business Development Center
That's awesome.
in
That's
Monterey
awesome.
County.
That's great. That's great. Thank you very much for doing it.
I love you. I love you
Appreciate
too.
it. Bye. Bye. Está bueno, buenísimo. What do you think is the biggest issue, like an endemic type of issue that's happening with small businesses that you find yourself fixing or talking about it over and over and over?
Over and over and over, the theme is always how much money do I have? How much money do I need? When am I going to get more money? So today's message was really powerful about how to pay faster, how to get paid faster, because that's going to solve a lot of problems for a lot of businesses.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. I'm here with my friend
Andrew Berg.
Andrew Berg from Philadelphia.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
And I'm with Hector.
yes,
from
exactly.
Miami.
Exactly. So Andrew, what sessions have you watched today that has given you some small piece of insight that you're going to immediately implement in your practice when you get back home?
So I sat in a session today on You're Not Stuck. Thought it was amazing. She gave some really great tips on how to mentally get out of being in a spot where you think you're stuck and get motivated to get your goals. Also sat in a session today on e-commerce accounting, which we are big in our niche. So it was really interesting to hear what other people were doing in that field. So, of course, the main stage was amazing, as usual, and looking forward to the next main stage.
And what's interesting about e-commerce accounting? Why is it particular? Why is it important to focus on it? Why do you focus on it? Why do you like it?
Because I think there's a lot of people out there that start businesses in e-commerce without really having business backgrounds, and a lot of them get lost in thought and they get stuck on cash basis accounting. Clearly, they're selling products, and when you're a product, you need to know inventory. You need to know inventory, you got to know accrual-based accounting, and when you need to know accrual-based accounting, you have to have an accountant that can help you do that. So we focus our attention on making those e-commerce sellers who are growing much more successful, understanding their business by implementing accrual-based accounting and not just cash-basis accounting for them.
All right, thank you. Yeah, give me some business advice that has impacted you, that has also helped give your customers good advice as well.
I actually just sat in a class for mommy entrepreneurs, and I think the best advice is to give with a purpose. So I've learned a lot about our clients, and I think that if you just give from the heart and try to understand what their why is and help them with that, at the end of the day, you're able to help them.
And I know you have 10 or 12 team members in your team, right?
7.
7. And what's the secret to retaining good talent?
Just be real. Be real, understand, be flexible, be good to them, and be open and honest. Just be yourself every day.
Thank you, man. All right, my new BFF, Michael Lee, who lost Firm of the Future, although I strongly endorse reconciled.
Thank you.
And you lost, which means my endorsement is really not worth that much.
Exactly. There you go.
So what have you learned new today, man? We talked a lot recently. We've done a lot of videos recently. What have you learned new today and yesterday that you can immediately take to your practice when you get home?
Oh, that's really great. I think I went to Darren Root's session yesterday on Modern Firm, and just a reiteration about values and clearly laying those out for new employees and people you're interviewing with, or anybody really, the values of your firm and living those out. And so just having the reminder of the basics was really helpful for me.
And is there a specific way that we're supposed to live out those values? Do we paint the wall with those values?
No. I would say that it starts with the behaviors of your leaders. So really making sure that those values are being lived out by your leaders and yourself as the firm owner or firm leader. And so that and calling out when you're actually not living up to it as well. So admitting and saying, hey, I've fallen short. We're all human. I've fallen short, but this is how I haven't lived out in the values, and recognizing that, and then also giving examples of when other people in your firm have lived out those values, so that your employees continue to see that the culture is built on these values, and that's how you're going to continue to be a place that Darren Root talks about, a place that employees will want to work and want to be, and they'd be excited to do that.
So you brought something up at the very beginning, and you're talking about that you need to know who your audience is before you even make your very first film or a video, right? How do you suggest that's done? Because it's not, I think for some people it's not that easy to just say, oh, my audience is this. And a lot of people would like maybe A/B test and like create small short stuff to see what pops off. How did you do that part? How did you figure out what your audience was? And is it still the same?
It's a good question. So I started with my audience as a small business owner, just in the context of the contrast between small business owner and accountant, right? Because we want to take it one step further than that. But I started with saying I'm going to speak to the small business owner, not the accountant. So I didn't use accounting tech talk. I made sure that I was using logic, like more like natural logic, natural reasoning, like, this is how you see money coming in and out of your bank, instead of saying, cash flow, or saying, assets. So I try to, so I know for a fact that the person I want to watch my video is not an accountant, is a small business owner, and that shapes the language that I use. But then which small business owner? So this is how I looked at it. Look for the most expensive problems that are out there. Okay, look for the most expensive problems. What are the most expensive problems? Having a key employee that you spend hundreds of thousands of dollars training that leaves you. That's an expensive problem. So we talk about HR, right? Or we're talking about training the employees or empowering the employees or giving the employees the confidence that they do belong there and that they can actually affect the business. So that's a big expensive problem. So when I talk to the small business owners, I tell them, I'm going to train your employee, I'm going to empower them, I'm also going to help you delegate, make you feel good about delegating, and I'm going to be that bridge between you and your employee, and in one way, shape, or form, I think that helps them stay in the business. So another big expensive problem is inventory, right? Any business that has inventory, that business inventory is a livelihood. You have a small swing in inventory counts or something, and your profit goes completely array. And most of these e-commerce businesses and inventory type businesses have so much money invested in inventory. That's where all the cash flow is. So they need to get smarter about buying the correct product. They need to be smarter about getting rid of obsoletes. They need to be smarter about projecting and forecasting what is it that's going to be selling, whether it's seasonal or not. So I said, you know what, I'm going to focus on training employees because it's a big expensive problem, and I'm also going to focus on helping people with inventory because I know that's a big expensive problem. And that's how I did it. But I mean, there's so many expensive problems out there that you just, I mean, you can take mine, and there's tons of business out there. So you can take those too and be very successful at it. So I'm here with Seth David.
All right.
And I cut him on the way out, and we have to be careful we don't bump this up on Seth.
Right.
Tell me about your sessions. What did you teach yesterday and today?
I taught e-commerce, but more specifically, I taught people how important it is to learn Excel skills, to learn spreadsheet skills, because that's what you need to know so you can grab data from one place, massage it the way you need to, and then move it to another place.
And what about, okay, so you teach a lot, you do a lot of training, you do a lot of videos, so I could ask you stuff about what you teach all day long, but I want to know about what you're learning. Okay.
What am I learning? Good question.
What did you learn here between the main stage or anything else? What have you learned, or what piece of inspiration are you going to take back to the office?
I think the best thing I can say on that is I've had a lot of reinforcement of things and reminders of things. You know, the theme is that anything is possible, right? And I love that, and I love what A-Rod said, where he said, one of my favorite quotes from A-Rod was that he said he got, I'm trying to remember exactly how he put it. It was something like he got an advanced degree in falling down, but he had a master's in getting back up. You know, I love that.
And how would you equate that to the work that we do as accountants, as advisors in the profession? How would you draw similarities with what we do every day?
You know, we have our wins and we have our losses, right? I lose big clients. I think, oh my God, it's all falling apart. I'm going out of business. You know, but then the next new client comes, and so we get knocked down and we get right back up again every single time. And the main thing is getting back up every time, getting back up more times than you get knocked down. You know, that's what I love about it.
And give me some parenting advice, man.
Parenting advice.
Give me some parenting advice. You know, how could you be a busy CEO, business owner, dealing with so many clients, and also somehow find time to just?
Well, I'm not perfect at this, but when you get home, put the phone and tech aside so that you can actually spend time and talk with your kids and your family. I'm not perfect at that. Get a date night with your spouse. Figure out a date night once a week or once every other week. And make them a priority, right? And so, yeah.
And what's the best business advice that you have ever received?
Best business advice: take more vacations. I said that at Receive Bake Dinner last night. Take more vacations,
right?
And play in your areas of strength and delegate your weaknesses. Somebody else who's stronger.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, all right, man. Yeah.
And what are you specializing on now? What's your specialty now?
E-commerce and real estate.
And why? Why those two?
E-commerce is, for the reason I presented here. It's the same reason. I got kind of pushed into it by a client who was begging me to do the work with him, and he'd been through a few other accountants, and I went out and reached out and started asking people.
I want to show the back.
Sure.
People can see what's going on in the back right there.
So I went and started asking people who I knew were e-commerce experts if I could outsource that part of it to them, and consistently everybody was up to their eyeballs, way too busy. Ultimately, I did the math, and I said, clearly there's a big demand and a short supply, and I can, make good money doing this. So I said, okay, screw it. And this guy was willing to let me learn on him, so I went in, looked at his accounting, I kind of ripped it apart and put it back together again, played around with some of the apps, found a lot of them wanting, and developed my systems for getting the data moved around the way we do and the way I demonstrated it this week.
I'm here with Jessica,
Hi.
who works for an accounting firm, the best accounting firm
In the whole world.
In the whole world. Jessica, what have you learned at QuickBooks Connect that you can immediately take to the practice and implement immediately?
Okay, first of all, my first QuickBooks Connect 2018, amazing experience. I am inspired, empowered, and I want to get to the office on Thursday and do like everything. The best session that I had was about how to get the new clients and how to talk to them and how to filter them in a way of getting the clients that you want, the type of clients that you want to have, and the type of people that you want to actually help and give them your best.
And what is the specific skill set that you learned for that's client onboarding, right?
Yes, client
What
onboarding.
specific skill set or little trick that you learned that you think you can immediately implement?
The questions that you have to ask them. So questions that are related to your culture, to your mission, and to see if the clients actually align with you and well with the whole firm.
And if the clients don't align with you, then it's not a good fit.
It's not. So you would leave them to part them away from you and to have a better fit, so that you can have better clients for you and that they can have a better firm for them.
And what is the best personal lesson that you have learned from the inspiring speakers that we've had in QuickBooks Connect?
To have passion about your life, to actually see your life, live it, and be passionate every minute of it, and to be thankful, of course, of everything that you're living. Even if it's a bad thing, it's always a good thing, or at least look at it with good eyes.
So I'm here with Sadel, who's back in QB Connect. He came last year and is here again. What are some key takeaways? What have you learned this year that you're going to be able to take back into the office and implement immediately?
Okay, this year has been a totally different experience, and taking into consideration that I am a much more mature bookkeeper, so my taking from every class has been from a different perspective. So there have been so many interesting classes, but I have been able to experience not only the technicality of QuickBooks classes, but also the encouragement of so many good people that have been in the business for a while. So more than anything, I'm going back home full with energy and purpose and a lot of desire to do my work every day better and contribute to my firm to be in a better position and to be more useful and help in general.
And what specific new skill set have you learned this year in QB Connect? What specific new skill set?
Okay, I have been focusing in that part with related to work and projects. We are looking forward to implement as soon as we reach back Miami, because we want to start like having everything in one place. So to set the appointments and like guide us in using QuickBooks Online instead of using more than one software. So we want to simplify the process and start using the projects and the work part of, which is new for QuickBooks Online.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Some great e-commerce apps that you've been using lately that you would suggest that I look at.
So the key app in what I presented was not even really an e-commerce app. It's SASANT Excel transactions. Because with that app, SASANT, SAASANT, Excel transactions, best import tool I've ever used. Makes it really easy. You grab you grab the data from one place, you prep it, you get the data organized, and it's really easy to map it and save the mapping. So now with my templates all built, I can move data from a sales channel into QuickBooks Online in like 10 minutes most for a whole month's worth of data, even if it's 1,000 transactions, doesn't matter.
And what is the best business advice you ever received?
Best business advice I ever received was to make videos. Honestly, that was a guy told me.
Yeah.
Not just to make videos. I was already making them. He told me to put them on YouTube.
Right.
That was the best business advice I ever received. It changed my life.
Make videos and make them free.
Right. Yeah. Make them and
that
put
was
them on
the advice.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Yep. Give it away. Basically, you give it away to get it back. Right. Or give it away to keep it. That's kind of where I come from. That's the philosophy. right? The more I give it away, the more I teach something, the more it becomes my own, the more I can master that, right? That's why I love teaching, is because it actually reinforces my own knowledge of the subject matter, and the more I teach things, the better I get at it. If I look at a video I did on a subject 10 years ago compared to a video if I redid the same topic more recently, I can see such a huge difference in how I approach teaching the subject, and based on that, a big difference in how well I understand it.
That's right. Thank you, brother.
You got it. Thank you. Have a
bye.
good, safe trip.
Bye. Thank you.
And Brad, I'm going to give you the last word to send us out. Any last words of wisdom for our folks?
Well, I'll simply end where we began. Regardless of whether we make software, we're third-party developers, we're accountants, we're bookkeepers, we're small businesses, we run big companies, we're in the people business. And people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And what I really, really love and what gets me excited about the next chapter is everything that Sasan and Alex talked about gives me the hope that with those tools, with these people, and with all of you, we can change the world and make it a better place for everybody else. So let's do this.
We'll see you next year, guys. Take care.